Hello, welcome to this week's Item Box, where we talk about the latest Sonic and Sega news, as well as our own lives and what we've been up to. So, how are you?
I'm doing okay-ish. I have to deal with a couple of things recently, but been relatively busy myself. I guess the main thing I could briefly chat about is that I just replayed both Time Splitters 2 and Future Perfect again for the first time in ages. And
So have I actually. I've been going
yeah,
through.
and
I played
weirdly
it on
enough, we're playing
I played it
two
on
at the same
easy, and
time.
I'm playing it on normal. I'm up
Yeah.
to the spy base. We had to disable bombs.
Yes, you have to go around. You have to take out the guards and then make sure the scientists can take out the bombs in the amount of time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pain in the ass, but
Yeah.
I've gone between that and Perfect Dark and Pokemon Violet again.
I mean, Perfect Dark is kind of pretty much in the vein of Time Splitters anyway. I mean, anyway, the DNA from GoldenEye runs through all those games.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But getting on to the biggest news we've had. I know it's been a week since technically even recorded, been a week since it actually was announced. But like I said before, when it comes to certain gaming news, as following the Blue Blur, you have to wait a few days. You have to jump on the FOMO bandwagon and say, "Oh, look at this!" And then instantly you're gonna make more videos saying, "Hey, we've got more info, more info, more info, more info."
Yeah.
Let it stew. What comes out, there we go.
Be patient.
I know the FOMO stuff. Like, you're gonna be a video where it's like, I gotta get the freaking algorithm, and then the SEO stuff. It's like, I couldn't care. I just, I want to talk about something. I'll talk about something when I get all the information necessary.
Yeah, because again, a lot of stuff happens, and particularly with this one, there was a lot going on even beforehand this thing got announced.
Yes, it was rumored that there was going to be a Sonic Generations remaster. Now, before, obviously, it is now confirmed there's going to be a remaster in the same vein, kind of in the same vein as Sonic Colors Ultimate, but not necessarily the same as Sonic Colors Ultimate. But I didn't want a Generations remaster. I was like, it's fine as it is. Sonic Colors made sense because it was exclusive to one console back in 2010. And before you go on, no, the DS version doesn't count, okay?
No, the DS one is a different game anyway.
Yeah. No. Sonic Colors was just exclusive to the Wii. I mean, Lost World was exclusive to the Wii U, but it got ported to Steam, which I'm surprised hasn't been ported to anywhere else.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Same with Sonic Boom, but we don't talk about Sonic Boom that much.
Well, you say that, although as we're recording this, it's now apparently 10 years since that bad boy of a series started, but we'll probably say that for another time.
Yeah, but officially died in 2017.
I know, we'll talk about that another time.
And then it was revealed that there was a website registered, Sonic X Shadow Generations.
This is what kicked off a lot of suspicion.
Yeah, so that was kind of, usually when a website gets
a domain, basically it gets a name like this is allocated to this thing. That's like kind of giving, what are you up to, lads?
Yeah, there is some confirmation, but most of the time, a lot of companies will claim these domains just ahead of time, just in case.
That's true. In fact, that happened with Frontiers, because remember, the lead name originally was Sonic Rangers. That was something that was domained by Sega at one point.
Yeah, so usually they cover all the bases for any names and such for any future projects they may be doing. So this one seemed a bit dubious.
Yes.
But then it was like, oh yeah, Sonic's going to be announcing, Sega's going to be announcing something during Sony State of Play.
Yeah, that
which is the PlayStation Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, everyone's basically, now that E3 is no more, basically everyone's just copying Nintendo's. Basically, we just showcase videos for our online.
They were doing it even when
I know they were doing this thing. They stopped doing it, and then subsequently, then they all started going, maybe we can catch on this bandwagon. So
yeah, we actually save money and don't have the elaborate guests and fly people in to talk on a freaking stage for half an hour for all the audience and spokespeople to go, ooh.
Yeah, I mean, there's both on the one hand, there's both a yin and yang to that with the loss of E3. On the one hand, you don't have that aspect, but also you miss out some of the interesting things, standy booths and stuff. There's a whole other.
Yeah, you miss out on the actual show floor. Like when we went to remember Game Fest.
That's basically our E3. That was the nearest E3 for us, which ironically was when Sonic Generations the first time was being showcased. So we're staying on track there.
So that part we miss out on, and interacting with people and actually getting the scoop from the show host there. But
Yes.
yeah, it's not really a major loss considering E3 became a shadow of itself. But anyway, during the state of play, a bunch of games got announced, including some really cool looking stuff as well. But then Generations showed up, and it was a new CG trailer where Shadow showed up.
Yeah, well, this is the
And
thing I loved about the trailer is the fact that if you look, the people that done side-by-side comparison, it's exactly the same pose as they did when they first announced Generations back then, the two songs together, and they just having Shadow slip in there, which I thought, okay, that's kind of a clever little twist on that. The fact that you make us think it's just, oh, it's the old trailer again, and then you have him pop up.
yeah, and also before it zooms in the Shadow's eye, it kind of looks like they're doing a pose for Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, people that pointed that out.
Well, yeah, Sonic X Shadow Generations is a thing. And first and foremost, I've got a pettiness out of the way. I hate that logo.
This is coming from you, who's spent a long time doing fan-made logos over the years. So yeah, I do wonder.
Here's the thing, though. I'm not alone. A lot of people do not like that logo. First of all, the blue outline for Sonic isn't fully encompassed the way it should be.
It's a bit pointed. Have they like kind of made it a bit They got pointy edges to it. Isn't that the big change up they've done to it as well?
Kind of, yeah. Like, look at the original Generations logo. It has the yellow, and then you have kind of a simple outline which goes around maybe like a few pixels outward.
Yeah,
and it curves around into the sea as well. And then you have a bolder one which cuts around like it's supposed to in every other Sonic logo. That's what bothers me, first of all. Then the Shadow part has his symbol in the O.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something a 15-year-old would do for make a fan logo back in 2010. Okay.
I mean, to be fair, wouldn't you have done that back then? That's the question. Would you have done that back then?
When I first started out to make Sonic the Hedgehog 2, yeah, I would have. But looking back on it now, it's the most tackiest thing you could do. But Sega went ahead and paid someone for it.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, put it this way: they haven't fallen into the trap of replacing a letter with a number. That is normally, I swear to God, that's an unlucky thing you should never do. Never replace a letter with a number because you're asking for trouble.
You're like for free.
Yeah, drive through. You know that infamous thing.
Yeah. Okay, get us out of the way. I just don't like that logo. I've seen people recreate it, and it looks so much better. It is terrible. I mean, even the name sounds off. Sonic X Shadow Generations. Like, I know you understand Shadow's now in the title. He's kind of half the game.
Yeah.
Do you not realize what you have done when kids search this on Google?
Well, it depends if they got the safe search mode on. That's a different thing.
Oh, yeah, but I guarantee you, a bunch of young teenagers saying, I want to see Bobies, will take that off and not tell their parents and go Sonic X Shadow and go, oh, God, what have I put my subconscious into?
I mean, the difference being, if it's put it this way, I mean, I would have thought the simple thing would have been Sonic X. It would have been, oh, you mean the anime from a couple of years ago? Not,
yeah, it would be Sonic X, but considering the internet and DeviantArt, oh God.
Yeah, but
because Pokemon didn't do that when they announced Pokemon X and Y, and kids started searching Pokemon X. Oh no, what are they doing? What are they doing to Charizard?
Is that where they ended up doing X, Y, Z just to make sure that was okay? It's the 3D axis, so it's not anything naughty.
Pretty much.
Right. Anyway, so yeah, so it's weird actually. This game got announced because again, it's like we did get rumors of it. Is this not like the quickest rumor we had of another Sonic game in years now? Like this, we got this info like days before.
Oh yeah, we got this info maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, which is again, it's the quickest we've ever done, and I was generally surprised that there was no tease from anything from Sega or whatever that they were doing something like this. So it was kind of probably
it was kind of half, even though it's like half expected because we got Colors remasters. Like okay, Sega announced they're going to do more remasters if it sells well. It sold well, but you give it to a wrong developer.
Yeah, well, the key thing about Generations, I think there's one outlet saying that Sonic Team handled it themselves, so it's not blind squirrel games again. So I think that's, on the one hand, maybe good news. Again, I'm not sure if that's fully confirmed or not yet.
Oh, apparently, according to some sources, it has been stated it's just Sonic Team working on it, since it is their own proprietary engine.
Yeah, I mean, it's curious whether or not, and again, I think I read from somewhere else, is that they may be using like the updated Hedgehog engine because they've used it on the previous one. So I don't know. I mean, the footage that we do see from it is it's Generations, but running at 60 frames per second, as opposed to back on 360 era when it was like
it was capped at 30. Luckily, with we've seen with the Xbox Series X, when it gave it a performance boost, Unleashed and Generations got a thing.
Yeah.
But the reason why it's called Sonic Cross, it's got Sonic Cross Shadow, so there's Sonic X Shadow.
I mean, that's probably a better name to call it, Sonic Cross Shadow Generations.
You got to call it Project X, do you? It says Project Cross Zone.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
the reason why is that Shadow is technically half the game. The whole trailer was showcasing that Black Doom is now back and the main villain of Shadow's campaign, which is played separately to coincide with Sonic Generations. Generations is the entire game.
Yeah,
I don't expect anything post colors.
No, I mean I was seeing people kind of wondering about this remaster, would they like include any of the 3DS levels at the time? And I felt like no, this is going to be just like a clear HD port upscale version of the original game, effectively. And really, the new stuff is the Shadow segment, which again, from what we've seen in the trailers, he said Black Doom's back again, torturing Shadow. Presumably, the setup is like he's making him go through various events from his life. And if you see one segment has him literally going, through a Doctor Strange Inception Vortex transition sequence, which I will admit that it surprised me to see that.
I'm pretty sure that's just part of the trailer rather than the actual gameplay. If it's a cutscene, that's really impressive.
I mean, from the look of it, I mean, presumably it's all in engine. I mean, this is still in gameplay stuff. So whether or not that's like, I'm curious whether or not you still play separate levels, like in Generations you play as constant.
I would prefer if it was separate levels and the whole Doctor Strange mirror universe.
Well, I was kind of curious whether
Vortex was essentially a cutscene.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is in whether or not the idea is you play the Shadow segment and each level transition through that. That's like a transition to the next level, as opposed to you play Act 1, Act 2, whatever. I'm curious to see if that's true.
I'd rather not. I think that would just be a cutscene, I'm hoping.
Probably.
So far, we've seen Black Doom and the Bile Lizard, which, okay, a couple of things. I'm surprised. Technically, that is a 3DS boss. So you kind of got your wish there.
Kind of, sort of, in a weird way.
Secondly, why the fuck is the Bile Lizard on the wall?
Well, if we're going back, here's the thing. I mean, one thing about Generations is that the point of that game, it was the remember this with a twist. That's something I kept saying for years. It was basically remember this, but we're doing something else you've never seen it do. So it's taking that philosophy, but with Shadow.
But the idea was the idea that a giant salamander based on chaos was too heavy to even fucking move.
I know, but like I said, it's going with that basis. So it's going to probably start with, okay, you know how this boss started off in Adventure 2. Now we're going to put twist on it. That's going to be that.
Also some loose wires as well. I'm not too sure of that, but I'm happy the actual the core of the arc is actually being recreated in this engine. So I expect a full-on recreation of that cutscene for Adventure 2 in this engine.
Well, this is something interesting because remember, the only segment we had of Shadow in the original Generations was the boss fight rival thing they had in that game, which they recreated basically the under part of Space Colony Arc. And from what I've seen of the trailer, it's like they've remade the whole level that you would do in Adventure 2. And I swear none of it's been reused from Generations. This could be all new stuff they built for this whole segment.
So far, we got the bosses, but Doom and Bile Lizard. And as far as stages go, it seems to be Final Chase, and I'm guessing Westopolis.
Yeah. So again, I know people kept saying this with Frontiers. It's like, oh, they're just reusing your assets. Oh my god, how lazy are they? It's like, well, it's difficult to make games, guys. This is why they reuse assets all the time. But if they have gone to the effort of actually building new assets for this segment, I think another thing that's been said is like the Generations. It will be part of the game, but I think they're going to add to separate things. So you'll have Generations redo as itself, and then maybe as a tab, maybe in the main menu, you can switch to the Shadow game as well. So I think that's still the idea that this will be its own standalone game tied into Generations, but it's basic. I had a feeling if they were going to redo any of the games, they want to add something new to it, in a sense. And also the fact is, I know why they've done this, partly because they know Generations is the popular game everybody likes, but also the fact that we are getting to, this is the year of Shadow, basically. We're going to see a lot of this guy going forwards, because movie 3 is on the way.
Oh, yeah, because the announcement with this as well is Shadow the Hedgehog is now going to be a playable skin to unlock for free in Superstars.
Yeah, which is funny because I
remember.
Well, here's the thing, because I know there was interviews with Yukazar saying why he's not in the game. It's like, well, chronologically, he's still in the pod, so it wouldn't make sense. But It's a skin. It's like, well, fuck it. You
I,
can,
I don't get this obsession where Shadow has to be playable in fucking everything. I understand that he's a popular character, as to quote Eggman from Sonic Boom, the second most popular character in the canon.
Yes.
Yeah, but to include him in a game that is not necessarily him needed to be there, it's like, why isn't there a Shadow in this game? Because it doesn't involve Shadow.
Yeah, but the
it
thing is,
involves the
remember,
classic
Superstars.
cast. So
Yeah,
also
remember
including him as a skin for starting to unlock in Superstars makes no goddamn sense.
I mean, that you're forgetting, man. This is the same game that basically gave you both a Christmas outfit and Lego skins for the characters as well. So if they allow that in the game, it's like, fuck it, why not? It's a fun extra.
Well, fun extra for the Lego one, fine. It was a tie into the actual product to announce that as well. Not to mention we had a modern dress for Amy.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah,
the only way I will accept the only way I'll accept the only way I will accept a Shadow skin in Superstars if that is they officially reveal a classic style Shadow.
Well, that's the thing, yeah, because people have been wondering what would Shadow look like in classic style. Because
here's the thing, though: there's no such thing as a classic Shadow.
I know. That's the thing.
It's like, would it be funny if they do this? No, it wouldn't be funny. It really, really wouldn't. It's a fun idea, but it's not funny and it's not creative because you're just applying a classic texture and a classic foundation onto a modern character.
Yeah, but let's be fair. It's like I don't mind that as much because, again, like I said, I don't. First of all, I don't get more antsy about that, about the canonicity of Sonic, because basically the canonicity of Sonic is both ever present and non-existent at the same time. That's the best way to describe it.
This isn't Doctor Who where you can just retcon shit.
Yeah, Doctor Who is
formula here.
The difference with Doctor Who is Doctor Who can make and break its own rules all the fucking time. It's been doing that for 60 years. That show's been doing that.
If you really think about it, though, it fucked up River Song.
I mean, God, River Song is an enigma in itself, really. So, God, we could be wrong.
Conceived in a TARDIS, that which becomes the actual get the Time Lord energy. When it turns out, no, the Time Lord energy came from the timeless child who is the Doctor.
That's a different. Again, we could be here all fucking night with that stuff. Honestly, we could be here all fucking night with that stuff.
There is a foundation of what games apply. That you said anything with classic now is prior Adventure 1.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get that. That makes sense, especially given that they were advertising Superstars. Basically, it takes place after Mania, but it's in that period of history where it's like, oh yeah, the gang are here. They're still looking all cutesy Jubilee style, and they don't speak as well because that's another rule I think they've put in for classic. But generally speaking, I mean, from what we've seen of going back to Generations, I mean, again, it's like the only other thing that was worrying people, like with this announcement of re-release, is like thinking, are they going to delist the original PC port of this? Because that's been something I've been seeing people going on a lot about.
I am 80% convinced they will delist Generations because they did it with Origins. They didn't need to do it with Origins. They really didn't.
No,
because you could have just left them alone. Could have left the individual original game ROMs on their site because they have the Sega Genesis collection that they push every time there's the
that was the one that we had years. Yeah, that was the one we had for decades alone.
Yeah, on Steam you have it. You have the Sega Mega Drive Genesis collection. You can bulk up with all the Genesis games you can buy individually, like you would back in '95.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is,
let's remove them and put Origins instead, which, yes, granted, Origins has the classic games on there if you really want to play the game as intended without a bunch of save scumming with the unlimited lives. But it wasn't needed.
No. So, I mean, the other problem I was going to point out is that there's been a lot of people who have been, modding Generations for years. I know there was the project.
That's the major concern. Because I have a friend who has been modding Generations for a bit, and he not to the extent of retrofitting classic stages into the game, but actually creating new models for characters.
Yeah,
he's also the same one who gave me my own OC in Sonic Adventure 2.
Oh God!
Oh yeah, just replace the Sonic skin. It's my character.
Wow, that's impressive.
But if it's just a simple drag and drop in a different engine and it works fundamentally the same, fine. They can actually just slightly retool it and it works with this new improved engine, or just it's just the same game, but it's added on. If that's the case, why announce it as a completely new game? And it says, why can't just the Shadow part be a DLC for it? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think it is sent to be. I mean, one thing I did see, actually, somebody put it out, that there was like a Steam page listing for something called Sonic Generations Collection. So again, whether that's the idea you get that along with the original
The
version.
Sonic Generations collection, I'm not too sure whether or not it's a new thing, but I always see it as it's just the compilation of just the game and the casino DLC.
Right, because again, that's the other thing as well. If you're going to re-release this game, I mean, presumably, are you going to put those some of those old bonus stuff in there? You're going to put in the pinball casino zone back in there? Are you going to put in like all the old extras? In fact, another thing I've actually thought about was, the trophy things that were in the game, which was you remember that they did a statue thing where if you bought it, it was Sonic and it was the two Sonics, and underneath it had like a code in which supposedly takes you to this other room inside the extras room that you see all these little statuettes of the characters.
I opened the box once, the arm fell off, I put it back. I have not opened the box since.
Yeah, but like I said, that was like an odd extra they put into the game. So I'm curious, like, would that still be in there? I mean, I'm curious.
Oh, I guarantee it's the entire game, the entirety of Generations in there. With
I want that. I mean,
no extras, just what was originally given.
Yeah.
Who knows? We might get a bit extra, like here's additional DLC. Here's Windy Valley. Or I would prefer if we got Silent Forest. Or the volcanic valley. I would prefer those stages in Lost World compared to here's Windy Valley again. Oh, congratulations, you got 2 green hills.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it wasn't an overabundance of fucking city levels either.
Yeah, but again, it's like that. I remember at the time people were wondering if they would do DLC for that game or they would add more stuff in, which they never did.
They could have. There was open opportunity to do DLC. Open opportunity. You could have included a completely retooled Sand Oasis from Secret Rings. Totally could have done that.
Yeah.
Even I would have preferred Night Palace or Evil Foundry, but whatever.
Yeah. There's a lot of possibilities with that. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, like I said, my only worry, like I said, if they're going to re-release this game, ideally, A, it should have everything that was on the original version, but now running a better frame rate and performance. And B, hopefully don't delist the old game, because like I said, there's been such a big community over the years. And again, I would hope they would do, like, for instance, both Broken Sword and Bioshock did this. Is like when you buy the updated versions of the games, you get the old one as well. Original game free. It's like I would do that. That would be the extra. That would be the extra.
I didn't notice that because I already owned Bioshock for a while on my Steam, and also see Bioshock Remastered. I say, when the hell did I get this?
That's what I'm saying. Is like that should be the norm. That should be the point. So you don't delist the games. I mean, for instance, Sega do not want to have the bitch fit that Rockstar had with the GTA Definitive Edition. They do not want that shit on their heads.
Here's a perfectly set of classic games you can play whenever you want. Well, we've updated them. Oh, great. But we're getting rid of the old ones. Oh, boo. But they're all in the collection. Oh, yay. But they're all shit. Can I go now?
Yeah, exactly. So you don't really want that. In fact, before we move on, I think the last thing we should point out is that given that when this game came out, you and I were at Summer Sonic one year where they basically said to everyone, by the way, we want you to basically be part of the game. So in the end credits, in the end credits of the game, the Happy Birthday Sonic. Yeah.
Happy Birthday Sonic at the end of the game was a mixed recording combining the audience of both Summer Sonic UK and Sonic Boom US in 2011.
I'm curious, did they separate them by region? Did the European get the Summer Sonic?
It was a combined. It was a combination. It was both of them.
All right.
Of which we were part of that audience.
Yeah, I actually have. Here's the point. I actually still have recording footage of us doing that. I still got that out there, so I can prove it if anybody's doubting us.
Oh yeah. Oh, please upload that, please.
Yeah, I will do at some point.
The original Summer Sonic 2011 recording of Happy Birthday Sonic.
Yeah, I do have it there. I do have it.
So they have to keep that in.
That's my biggest worry, because if they fiddle with anything, and I think there's going to be some question if they tweak some things or change stuff out, maybe. But if they get rid of that, that's you don't do that. Especially because the point of the game is a celebration. It's set on Sonic's birthday. That's the point of the game's plot, in a sense. It's all set during a surprise party for Sonic, so you don't get rid of that. So I hope that's still in the game.
Yeah. So we look forward to this. It'll come out autumn this year. It's like not the earliest, but the most latest announcement of a game to release, because Superstars last year was announced in June.
Yeah.
And it got released in October.
Yeah.
So, yeah, get ready to play Generations for the 100th time in a brand new console that everyone can play.
Yeah.
I also expect the Switch version to be the least performance one there is.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully there's not going to be seizure problems with that one, because I know that's become a running joke, but hopefully not this time.
Yeah, but this time, hopefully it's not beloved by any blind squirrels in the office.
Yes.
when it comes to like delisting games and all that, that's the biggest problem when it comes to gaming in general in this industry, especially this modern day and age of digital releases and purchases. Ubisoft, I can't remember if it was a CEO or the president.
It was somebody. It was somebody from Ubisoft.
Some ass bandit.
Well, bandit, it was the fact it was in a statement they did, and that was one of those things that's like, oh, right.
Yeah. Players should get used to the idea of not owning their games.
Yeah. I mean, that's the part of it.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I mean, it was part of this whole thing about, the attitude of what modern gamers do. They don't do physicals anymore, and they said about all that stuff, blah, 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 all that PR bullshit.
Yeah, few things. First of all, the idea of not owning anything digital is already a bullshit notion anyway, because apparently they can just remove it and like, okay, where's the $60 I spent? Where is it? Oh, it's gone now because we lead it this.
Okay, we have that. Game. Just the game. That's the attitude. We have your money, just not the game anymore.
Because Warner Bros. Did the same thing when as soon as Infinity Train was no longer viable, considering to what comes Warner Bros. They removed it from Amazon. No one on Amazon could watch their fucking show anymore. All the listings for the DVDs and Blu-rays were taken off the freaking shelves.
Yeah. Oh, God, that was awful when that happened.
Yes. And I'm still pissed off, and it'll all be pissing me off, is the fact that I pay for a digital game that costs just as much as a physical version. You're not paying for plastic and paper to be produced in order to put it on shelves at certain Walmarts, GameStop, and all that. Yeah, you're sending it directly from your goddamn server to my console. So where the fuck is the $60 to $70 going?
I mean, given the fact that this is Ubisoft, remember, who used to have charter basically every edition they have because they were responsible for.
You need a freaking flowchart.
These are the people responsible for like special editions, ultra editions, or whichever one that gives you this.
Here's the standard. Here's the collectors. Here's the gold edition. Here's the silver edition. Here's the blah blah edition. Here's the GameStop pre-order bonus. Here's the Best Buy pre-order bonus. To get everything, you need at least 4 copies of the fucking game to have the entirety of the game. I'll just wait 2 years. There'll be the ultimate definitive edition where you get everything. And that's at a point where no one gives a shit anymore.
Yeah, Christ almighty.
And it's the thing, when it comes to actually owning games, it's like, I own a copy of the game. A copy of the game. Copy.
Do you want to know? All right. Do you want to know the real thing? Do you want to know the annoying thing about this statement is that I know Stephanie Sterling mentioned this, obviously. And the annoying thing is actually that for a while, this is something about digital releases and I think this is even how iTunes work. The thing is, when you pay for something, you're not paying for the thing. You're paying for the rights to see the thing. That's where the money's going for. So effectively, it's a licensing thing. So as long as that license is still there, whatever money you do, you still have the rights to watch things on whatever device it's on. So once that's done, whether the license is gone or somebody decides, no, I don't want it on that service anymore, they can just take it off and then basically you're left with nothing. And for me, that's been the biggest worry with all the streaming stuff. Like going back to what we talked about Netflix last time,
the difference between Netflix and the Xbox Marketplace. With Netflix, when I stream something, when the license is up on that thing, it's tough shit. You move on, you find another streaming service, or better yet, you go to a freaking store, go to a Best Buy, go to a pawn store, second-hand store, find the DVD and take it home with you because you still got a viable freaking system that plays those discs.
Yeah, but this is something else I want to bring up because this is something I've recently discovered. It's like, obviously, physical media is still around. Like, there is still a crowd for that thing, but
there will always be a crowd for that thing.
I know, but here's the thing I want to really bring up is that, give you an example, for instance, a bit of tangent here, but I want to bring this up, is like, so on Netflix in the UK, you can watch all of Monty Python's Flying Circus, right? Which is fine, but again, those versions of those episodes are taken from the older DVD releases, so they're like from a few years ago. And, they are the best quality they could get from those things, whatever. Whereas a few years ago, they did a remaster of all 4 series, where they went back and they cleaned up both the studio footage, the location footage, and even Gilliam's animation. And they are some of it's the best the show's ever looked in that state. But the thing is like, the thing is like, when it comes to streaming, is like, unless you've got a good copy of something, you could be stuck with a shitty version of things. In fact, another aspect was, I've got these DVDs from the Goes Wrong stuff, like Peter Pan Goes Wrong, Christmas Goes Wrong, that sort of crowd of things. And again, some of the DVDs of those, like in terms of the video quality, even like the frame rate, is actually buggered. Like it's supposed meant to be like 60 or 50 frames interlaced, whatever. If you know anything about video footage, folks, please come
25.
in. But yeah, 25. Basically, the way how video footage is meant to look, right? And on the DVDs, they're not like that. They're kind of like that weird choppy thing where they slow it down a bit to make it filmic for whatever reason, if they filmed it like that, which they didn't. But the problem is like, say, if for instance these were the only versions you could watch the streaming, you're stuck with those copies of those things. And the fact they're on the physical releases means you're getting a crappier version. And the fact is, a lot of people don't bother putting in the effort in like DVD or Blu-ray releases. It's like, that's not the point. If you're going to do this stuff, you have to put the effort in, because especially if you did this on streaming, people would be pissed. And I know there's a few times where either Netflix or other things. Remember the Simpsons stuff on the Disney Plus? People are annoyed at the fact that they basically tried to put it in widescreen for shows that were meant like 4:3 back then. You know, the best example, there's the gag about the Duff joke. You know, there's like all these 3 different Duff bits and tins they've got here. And the gag is obviously you miss out, there's a pipe that's just putting all 3 of them in. It's just one pipe putting into all 3 of them in the end. That's the joke. So that's what fucking annoys me the most. It's like, you know, people, you know, streaming can bugger us, because unless you've got a decent copy of something, you could be left with a shittier version. And even to say you go through legal means, I won't name what names, but it's like, if you go for legal means, that could be the only version you've got. That's what's worried me the most about this whole thing.
Yeah, you would have got a better example than that. Look at the Dragon Ball Z releases. Like, people go for the Dragon Box all the time, but it's so hard to get. But even then, it's not the best quality. But but considering the orange box Dragon Ball stuff, that's like one of the worst qualities. Like, it's remastered. It looks like shit. You look at the original Japanese release, it looks like shit.
Yeah.
That's another thing as well when it comes to actually preservation of certain media and streaming.
Yeah.
And actually owning that. Say, you look at Sailor Moon, for example, another anime.
Yeah.
It looks pink. All the broadcast versions now, when people look at it and need certain masters, it looks pink. And people say, that's nostalgic, and that's the way it was. It's like, no, it looks like that because it's aged.
Yeah, because that was just the way it was when they released it. Yeah, it was literally the age of the tapes when they got it out for like the States. Yeah.
Yeah, but getting back onto games, it's like when I buy a copy of the game, it means I own a copy of the game. There are certain games that are no longer released or able to be purchased. Like on the Xbox 360, when Marvel vs. Capcom 2 came out for the arcade, I bought that.
You did.
Then a year later, it was taken off. Guess what they didn't do?
Put it back up.
They didn't take it from my Xbox. I still have that. I still have Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on my 360 hard drive. I can play that whenever the fuck I want. At a server down, probably. But you know what? They haven't taken the game away from me to play because I own that copy of the game. And that's why I also hate the idea of live service games. That's why Suicide Squad Killer Justice League is such a fucking travesty right now.
Yeah. Oh god.
Because live service games are bullshit. But Ubisoft and now Warner Bros. And soon to be Square Enix, they fucking love them. They love the idea of people being.
I mean, they've been running Square alone. They've been running that whole NFT business. Which, by the way, if you haven't read it, that has been going down like buggery. Any people who try to run that train, that's been going down.
Remember when Ubisoft tried pushing their freaking NFTs onto people? Oh yeah, you can own this item, which is a unique cereal. They released hundreds of NFTs for people to buy. Do you know how many were fucking purchased in the entire time that NFT bullshit was Ubisoft?
Less than they imagined.
15.
That is less than.
Out of hundreds they made, only 15 people were gullible enough, or even less than 15 people were gullible enough to purchase something that's unique to them and just. Yeah, congratulations. You paid money for ones and zeros that don't fucking matter in the long run compared to the game you fucking purchased.
Yeah, actually, one other thing I want to bring up, this is to do with Ubisoft. I mean, it is a game from them. Driver San Francisco. This came back out like 2011, whatever. It's regarded as one of the best sort of unique driving games out there. That was a game that got delisted from them ages ago. And yet, you know, people are pointing out, it's like, this is the problem. It's like people are, oh, what's this amazing game where you shift into vehicles and stuff? Oh, you can't get it anymore because, you know, can't be bothered.
Yeah, so if you really want it, you have to go on eBay and buy it.
Yeah, well, this is
that's the other ability of physical games compared to digital. Because again, game preservation, a lot of companies don't give two shits about it. That's why one of the things I'm really angry about Nintendo when it comes to their online emulators is that you have all these games that you have released on the Wii and Wii U, but you're trickling them out like freaking molasses in a blizzard.
Well, remember, these are the same people who will still put like Mario Kart at like full price from when it first came out to now. I mean, they're like that's what they're
I know.
for.
It's like the NES has a good number of games now, but compare that to what they released on the freaking Wii in its lifetime. It's like, why are you not releasing these like week by week? Like every week you had new games. Yes, sometimes it's games you don't want. Sometimes on a console you didn't freaking want to play. Like, hey, this games came out for the fucking Intellivision. I don't know why they had the Intellivision on the Wii U.
You never know. Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't care. It's like it's still got games for it. It's like now it's like an event every time they announce something. Hey, here's the 2 Golden Age games on the Game Boy Advance. Okay, great. When you release Sonic Advance for the damn thing? When you release all these other games for the damn thing? Why does it take you 2 months to release one game on your emulators? You have 6 emulators on that damn thing. Why the hell can you release games more frequently?
Again, it's just the weird policy. Nintendo does what they do.
In fact, again, it comes to retro games as well. Nothing is stopping you from going online or going to garage sales and any other secondhand stuff to pick up games you want. How often when do you expect a game like Zapper on the GameCube to show up?
Yeah, but this is something else I want to bring up, is actually because another bit of news, still relevant, but here's the thing. So Game in the UK, this has been the store you and I went to for many years. They recently announced that they are no longer doing like pre-owned game stuff. Like I think Thursday, of recording now or on Wednesday, of Thursday onwards, they're no longer doing trade-ins for pre-owned games. So they're just stopping that entirely. Although that said, I was in one store the other day and I asked this person about, would you know about this or whatever? And they mentioned like, that is true, but given their status, they're probably still going to get a lot of the intake from the other stores who don't do it to them soon. So they'll still be doing like pre-owned games for quite a while afterwards.
You pretty much got in half of your fucking revenue at that point.
I know. I mean, this is what I mean. It's like, this is the problem, is in this idea that there's people, they just don't want to deal with the hardship of, I guess, physical media, because it's like, oh, it's too expensive, whatever. It's like, well, when you're the same people who were putting all these like statuettes of things, maybe you were the one who were putting the cluttering up in the first place, especially Ubisoft were known for doing that. And
yeah, it's like, why release like 20 versions of the same fucking game for different prices? I know you got a large consumer base, but it doesn't really mean you should release 20 versions of the same goddamn game.
Yeah. It just annoys, and again, this does annoy me because, again, there are so many games. In fact, here's an example I can give you. For instance, talking about Time Splitters earlier. Funny enough, many people have always said, wouldn't it be great if Time Splitters 2 was on HD consoles? And for whatever reason, it never happened. But here's a little story. There was a game called Homefront: The Revolution. It was done by Dambuster Studios. These are the people who used to work at Free Radical, and they sort of separated off. And in the game, there's actually a segment where you find this little arcade thing. You actually can play 2 levels of Time Splitters 2 in it. And for a while, people kind of, oh my God, they actually updated it in HD and all that stuff. And it was like, well, where's the rest of the game? And apparently one dev kind of said, oh, we did do it. We did port the game and we managed to get it running and stuff. But, you know, we didn't get it. Obviously, we did behind, so the publisher's bad. But also, if you want to play the game, there's a way of doing it, but you're going to have to find out. So they purposely made a copy of a game that, for the most part, people would want to play, you know, for many years. And the fact that when they found out, somebody did find out the code, that you can play all of the single player stuff, so none of the multiplayer or the challenger stuff, but it's just the single player aspect. You can play at Home for Revolution, and weirdly enough, because of that, the sales of that game went up because of that little tidbit of all things.
Yeah, it's just the idea of not owning. Going back to the idea of not owning your games in the future, it just really pisses me off, because I'm paying you money. It's like, if I'm, again, it's been tweeted many times, it's been reposted on every single social media I've seen. If buying your games doesn't mean I'm owning them, then stealing isn't piracy.
Well, this is the problem, because if you're going to keep doing this, this is why piracy happens, because if people aren't allowed to physically, legally buy this stuff, they're going to do this. They're going to find back alleys. They're going to go to torrent sites. They're going to do this shit. You're worried about piracy.
And also, name one DRM that is not a live service that fucking works.
No. But like I said, this is the problem. That's the irony. It's actually biting itself in the tail. So you're worried about piracy, but then you do this shit. This is going to cause people to do more piracy in the first place. This is how this shit happens.
People want their games. People, and when it comes to developers, especially when Unity did that fucking thing, if you install so many versions of the same game with that engine, and then you'll have to pay us.
That's the thing.
Me?
Yeah. that story there. So yeah, the whole thing about that whole thing is that if you reach a certain threshold, it's apparently to do with if you do a certain amount of thing or a certain threshold, then technically they can get some revenue off that. Apparently, that's somehow.
You already got your fucking money for the license. Go and eat shit.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, that bite them in the arse, and that's really hurt them. Obviously, we know.
I think that's the reason why Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 took so long, because I think it's gone to the Unreal Engine. Because it looks very different compared to Chapter 2.
But as I said, I mean, to sort of end this off, I mean, as I'm speaking here, I'm looking straight at my old PS2 collection. I've got a bunch of games here. A lot of them, you know, will never get re-releases. A lot of these will only ever be on the PS2 for whatever reason. And the idea of thinking, if I want to play these games, it's like the idea, you know, someone says, oh, I would love to play like, you know, Spy vs. Psy. It's like, but there's no digital release of it. But it's like, well, I've got a physical copy right there in front of me, and so I could play that anytime I want. The fact I have the choice to do it right here, right now, which is what the point of digital service is. It's meant to give the audience the ability to
the option to play the game that Gay grew up with. That's the whole thing. Is nostalgia, it's preservation, and the idea of you can have it, but you can't own it.
Yeah, this is the thing.
There's so many dead consoles with dead games on them now.
I know. This is what's the frustrating.
It's like, yes, you can. If you were lucky for the Wii U, you could have downloaded Zelda Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass. Now you can't. Outside of gray means, gray area means.
Yeah.
The only way you can play them now is spend nearly $100 for a complete copy of those games on the original DS, and that includes that's even if you have a DS or a 3DS that can play them.
And again, think about it. Like the 3DS itself is basically a dead machine. So like, there's plenty of games on those systems that will never
both systems now, the Wii U and 3DS, are going to be dead systems because the online services are going to disappear.
I know.
The shop's shut. Yeah, they're gone. But the online services, you still want to play online.
That's an entire generation of gaming. That's just, you know, unless you have the machine or you don't have access to the game, it's completely cut off. You know, that's the problem. You just, as you say, the preservation. It's literally, you're not just getting rid of stuff. You're literally cutting.
That's another reason as well when it comes to actually preservation and people owning their games as well. That's why I'm really pissed off about backwards compatibility. That's why I ranted about Nintendo with the goddamn online service emulators. That's why I ranted about the price of these things when it comes to digital games compared to physical. It's like it's the main thing is preservation and actually owning the games that you have. And the fact is, you have to bring out an old console. If I want to play freaking the original Crash Team Racing, not Nitro Fuel, the original OG PlayStation version, I need to go out and get the PS3 out, which has been packed away right now because we've got the PS4. I need to go and do that. Or find a PS1 or PS2 and spend who knows how much of a working console that has not been hacked to actually play everything.
Yeah,
that's the nightmare gamers these days. It's like think about this. Right now, the current console on the market is the PlayStation 5, and it only plays PS5 and PS4 games. The fact that the preservation of games right now is just the last generation, it pisses me off. The fact that the Xbox One and Series X can't play every 360 game or every original Xbox game pisses me off. That has better backwards compatibility than
you mentioned the PS3. Remember when the PS3 came out, there was that thing of people wondering why could it play PS2 games, and apparently it could, but it was very picky about which ones it could and couldn't do.
I know it's like licensing and all that. It's like, why can't you just allow it to play everything? Why can't I play Sonic 06 on my Xbox One? A lot of people ask, why would you want to do that? The thing is, I use that example because I want to play. I don't want to set up a separate console to play a game on a current gen console. Also, the fact that the 360 controller doesn't feel right anymore.
Oh dear.
The Switch has its excuses, but still.
Man, we're really going off on this one, aren't there? All right. We've been very angry on this. We've both been pretty passionate and angry on this. But I'll end with this.
People love it when I'm angry. They like it.
I mean, you're normally the angry one. Sometimes I worried if I'm not very angry enough. But anyway, I'll end with this little tidbit as well. So, a few years ago when Uncharted 4 came out and they put in the Crash Bandicoot little Easter egg in there, right? Right. So apparently, obviously, that Naughty Dog wanted to do that, and they were kind of worried, like, well, we won't because Activision probably wouldn't do it because they were on the rights. And then they managed to do a deal with Sony. This is back in while Crash was getting the comeback, so they were like, okay, yeah, you can do it. And then it was kind of like, okay, how do we do it? And apparently somebody was in the office, well, we need to recreate the PS1 game. And so what they did is they actually went to, if you ever see Naughty Dog, they've got like a cabinet of all their stuff and awards, and they actually got like, I think, an old sealed copy of Crash 1 in there. So somebody went in there, got that out, opened it up to just figure out, okay, what did they do to actually make this work so we can actually copy it and make it work on the PS4. So that's a case of, this is why physical media is important, because you never know when that stuff becomes important, guys. This is what we say.
Like also with Kingdom Hearts, when that was being remade for the HD remix, they didn't have the source code. They rebuilt the game.
Yeah. I
mean, you play original Kingdom Hearts and play Kingdom Hearts remixed. The triangle command button, that's there now. That wasn't an original game.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that was a Kingdom Hearts 2 thing. They added it into Kingdom Hearts 1 because they had to rebuild the game from a different code because they didn't have the original source code for it.
Wow. All right, super. All right, they'll make this the last one. Now you're on source codes. I remember this story. This is to do with Broken Sword. So when they made the first game, they used to have all the coding on like tape reels or something. This is back in the old days. And when they finished that game, apparently one of the devs were like just sort of spooling out the stuff into a bin because they weren't sure they were ever going to need it again. And then when they got around to doing the director's cut, which is kind of a re-release in a sense, they realized, thinking, oh God, we don't have it. So they had to like sort of jerry-rig a bunch of coding to make that thing work, to sort of get it running again. And then subsequently through Scum VM, the system that allows you to play like old DOS games and stuff, that allowed them to actually figure out, oh, we can get the old game playing again on current systems, which is now what they're using for the Reforged game going forward. So again, this is a story you don't know. If you get rid of the stuff, you don't know when it's going to be valuable unless somebody's there to save it or preserve it. This matters, guys. This is what game preservation means, because you never know when this stuff's going to become important.
Well, the moral of the story of this podcast is fuck Ubisoft and fuck whoever said that.
Yeah, well, we got Jim's definitely telling me to do that, so it's nothing new.